Hey guys, this is Denny.
And this is James from TDB, bringing you episode number 135. So today we have a tea that was kindly provided by a friend here in Seattle, Meng. Thank you, Meng.
Thanks, Meng.
So he went to Malaysia and picked up a tea that is supposedly the Jianyun 2001 7542. So it's also Malaysia stored, similar, well, presumably Malaysia stored, similar to the last tea.
Right.
So it'll be an interesting comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had this once before, and it was quite good.
It was.
So I'm looking forward to having it again.
And I think I'll give this 2 rinses as well, for the same reason as last episode, just so we can get to the content of the leaves a little bit more quickly. Have a quick smell. So this is supposedly a famous tea. It sells at White Tea for something really high, like $800 or $1,000, something like that. Somewhere that was considerably out of my price range, enough for me to not even think about it. But 7542, of course, is one of the famous recipes from Meng Tea Factory. So this is supposedly a legitimate Meng.
The aroma on the dry leaf in the cup is incredible. It's got really nice fruit. It just smells really sweet. Looking forward to this. Bring out fairly yellow.
Yep.
That yellow-orange character.
Aroma is very different from our previous tea. Probably still smelling a lot of storage on there.
Definitely. Yep. But I'm looking forward to trying this again. This will be an interesting comparison. And the thought experiment here in some ways is humidity is going to increase the speed at which these teas age. So the counterfactual would be, how would this be different in a different area? And of course we can't try the different teas to know, but that will guide or inform our drinking here a little bit.
Yep.
That sounded way smarter than I actually am. Trust me.
That's true. I can confirm this.
And it's losing a little bit of that funk on the smell as well. So,
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. So I think it's similar to last tea. First infusion, it's still starting to expand.
I think it has a more grainy sweetness, more corn, sort of, not quite the same as a Yunnan black corn sweetness, but more of less of a fruity sweet.
Compared
creamy.
to the previous tea. Hard to compare the thickness of it, but so far I think the previous tea was thicker. Okay, but here we are. We're getting a much darker color.
Some nice subtle hints of fruit on this too.
Yeah, I would say grainy is probably the right way to describe this. Kind of like it's not like, it's kind of like a lower bassy sort of graininess to it. Yeah, not quite earthy, but grainy.
It's gonna be hot. Cheers.
Cheers. More of the fruits coming out. Still needs to expand.
Yeah. It's getting a little bit more viscous. It's getting a bit more fruity. I'm getting hints of peaty smokiness at the very tail end, almost kind of returning to my mouth, lingering. It's got a little bit of that tannin pucker, although
Mhm.
we've been drinking tea, so and it's good. It's yeah. This tea is very different than the last tea we had too.
Yeah, I would actually say that it might actually, like the finish of it's really nice and smooth, like in the mouth. Interesting. This tea, I remember remarking when I had this the first time a few months ago, thinking that it was good, it was clearly aged, but I was amazed at how much more room it had to age, just because of the nature of the material. And, you know, this brand is particularly famous for some of the productions aging in, like, the very long term, like 30 years, 40 years even, so... this tea made me kind of realize why that might be the case.
So there's undeveloped elements in
Yeah.
some senses of what you're tasting.
Yeah, you can smell that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much more of a
I would say for me it smells like really densely, like it has a really nice dense aroma. Fruit is the most obvious thing you can smell off of it. Sort of like
there's like just this like full bodiedness to the smell of it. Is what I was gonna say. It's like it's almost like what I would prefer to drink in the deepest of winter. It's just this like enveloping character of the aroma and the taste.
Yeah,
It's really nice. And the color, excuse me, is getting so much darker.
yeah.
So.
I've expanded the steep times a little bit just so to get to this quicker.
Cheers.
Okay, this infusion is by far the best. It's the fullest. It's kind of got like a fruit taste, and I think it has sort of what I was describing before, sort of like that astringent finish that makes me believe that this tea could be aged a lot more.
Yeah, I'm sitting here grasping for that fruit that's going on in here. And it's escaping me. It's almost. I mean, it sounds really weird, but it's almost like red grapey.
Red grapey. Interesting.
Which is a very strange compliment to these flavors, I must say.
To me, it's very that steep in particular was very tannic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, and you feel like that is a signature of, not a signature, a sign that this tea will age even more gracefully.
Yeah, that it could probably improve even more with age. Potentially, yeah.
Well, I think you're balancing the amount of leaf that we're using to the Gaiwan. I think the ratio is great. Do you have any idea what that is?
We're using 5 grams for 70 milliliters.
I think it's really tasty, and it's the problem with using too little leaf on a tea like this would be to just not get enough of this body. And we're getting a lot of the body. I am feeling the energy. So, you know, James is totally right that this will, one would hope, as it ages, keep up that body and intensity, but lose a little bit of those tannin.
Yeah, and then
flavors.
you can push the tea even more and get deliciousness.
Yeah. I'm getting a little bit of maple wood flavors.
I think that's good. Smell this too. I think some of the woody notes have come into the aroma now too.
Yeah, definitely. And look at the material. It's actually an interesting balance of darker roasted and greener.
This recipe in particular is kind of famous for looking pretty bad, just in terms of the raw material, but tasting pretty good. So, and it's not great looking. It's just kind of like a blob of leaves.
Yeah, it's true. It's not. There are not that many whole leaves. It looks like the material that was used was pretty big leaves in the first place because it's a little bit cut up. But this is really good. I can't untaste that like red grapes little bit of sweetness. So there's like gross Jolly Rancher grape sweetness. It depends on what your definition of gross is, but that's gross to me. And then there's like the like subtle sweet flavors of red grapes that is somehow in this tea paired with these really bold, intense tannin textures and flavors, and
Almost sounds like you're describing a wine.
yeah. Are you getting me drunk?
This is definitely tea, bro. Yeah. I just like brewing up some wine in there.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Little bit of the tomato sourness coming through as well. Just a hint. It's kind of that sweet sour interplay. I'm thinking of strange fruits that have red in them with seeds. That's what we're getting out of this. I don't know.
Yeah, and I've noticed that it's a little bit, especially on these last few infusions where it pushed a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's a little bit mouth watering, a little bit mouth drying.
Mm-hmm. I agree entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. I'm feeling wildly alert.
Yeah, my cheeks are flushed.
Yeah.
I can feel the tea in my throat.
I think it's a good lasting flavor.
Between this tea and the tea last week, how would you compare the two?
This one has more characteristic boldness. I think this one has a longer finish. I think that the subtleties of this tea might show themselves a little bit better as we steep it on. It might be a little bit hard in these first steepings, which are, I think, admittedly more intense and more flavorful. It's a little bit harder for me, at least right now. And we also are having these back-to-back, so to tease out the little subtleties. I feel like it was easier in the last tea that we tried, the 2000 from Essence, because the flavors were a little bit lighter, the liqueur and the texture was a little bit more crisp compared to this one. So on the crisp to not crisp spectrum that we detailed last week, this would be even more not crisp, if you will.
I was like, which of those two is crisp?
So we're talking about very hearty, old-tasting, aged books vibe here.
So these would both be on the not crisp scale.
Yes.
But
yes.
this one is more not
relative,
crisp.
exactly.
Relatively
exactly.
not.
So we're on the far pole towards the not crisp goal, and we have almost scored.
Okay.
How's that for the most meandering reaction? What do you think, James? What do you think of the key differences here? This is interesting.
If I were to choose something to drink now, I would probably take the tea from the previous episode, the Essence of Tea one. Mm-hmm. I think it has more, like the flavors and stuff feel more complete to me. This feels like a tea that it's good now. It's good to drink. It's tasty. But I feel like it's on the road to becoming really, really good. So if I were to like pick and choose between the two right now, and it's kind of like an apples and oranges thing, really. Like they're surprisingly different for being from the same era and stuff.
Same storage, 1 year apart in terms of age, and yet the variety of flavors dramatic. And it's interesting. So James' point too is just that it's not that this tea is bad categorically, but it tastes as if it's not done aging yet, which is a good sign for teas that you do want to age on sort of this marathon level of aging. Yeah,
which I mean, this tea it's already 14 years aged in a relatively humid environment.
Right.
I mean, that's definitely on the part of the marathon is done, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, to get to this stage in Seattle, it would take probably a lot longer. So, kind of gives you some perspective at least. Anyways, where could someone find out more about tea?
Well, check us out on tdv.org. We are trying to break as few of tea accessories as possible on our channel. Thanks, Meng, for the awesome tasting that we had together and for letting us bring this onto the show. We really appreciate it. I don't know if he has any details to give out. I think he's just a dude, so we'll leave him with a thank you very much.
Yeah.
TDB.org, we have we do a bunch of episodes, we have great written content, we have a newsletter, we have Instagram, Periscope, Twitter.
And happy Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
We are filming this way in the past. So I think this is like mid to late November.
Yeah.
But it's actually like early September.
I probably temporarily gained like 10 pounds.
Yeah. So next episode, we'll be back to the present time. So
see you then.
Looking forward to that.
Cheers.